how to do a handshake that will alienate 100% of the people you ever meet. Okay, so let me, would you help me? You just come up here. Now, this is the handshake. If you want to be sure, just here, thank you very much. If you want to be sure that you make the worst possible impression on somebody, here's the handshake. Now, even though she knows it's coming, what's your reaction to the handshake? Hi there, it's really nice to see you. How are you? Okay. And that little wet fish. And you know what people do? You get just a little shiver like that. And that's because what you're looking for is to see those webs docked. You want instinctively to feel the palm of the hand. So the first thing that's most important is the palms must meet. Okay? They don't have to meet in one of these bone crushers that some men insist upon. You know, and puts women in a terribly uncomfortable position because their hands tend to be smaller and so on and so forth. And you know what I'm talking about, these macho handshakes. And you'll get guys, sometimes you see it on their face, and they've read the book that says, always give their pressure plus 10%. And you get this going on. Here, if you want to make somebody feel really comfortable, let me show you an absolutely perfect handshake for putting people completely at ease. Hi there, how are you? Very nice to meet you. Now, let me explain what I've done first off. One, I've made sure that she got my palm. Two, I've turned her palm slightly up because you've heard the expression, the upper hand. We instinctively understand that whomever has the hand on top has a slight physical advantage over us. When we were fighting in the Roman days, they did it like that, so nobody's hand was on top. The dominant guy would tend to give it a little bit of that. Okay? But what you do, you want to make somebody feel that I'm not trying to be in control. You just let their hand, just turn it over slightly. Now the other thing you do is you step into it and you bring their hand in the direction of your solar plexus. The reason for that is you're saying, here's my most vulnerable part of my body, and I'm letting you in there. I'm no threat. And that feels very comfortable. If you want to reverse that, and I promise you this is the last one, if you want to reverse that and you want to be really comfortable, you do the opposite, you turn it over and you push it into theirs. You meet people who do that without realizing. So they come up and they do that. Hi, how are you? Very nice to meet you. And that's really asserting yourself. Here's the point. That's neutral. That's very friendly, very social, put somebody at ease. Now, not quite as extreme as that, okay? But bringing them in that direction. That's the opposite. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks a minute. So the handshake, first, it causes the release of this oxytocin. Even with a stranger, it's involuntary. You don't go, oh, I love this person. But you feel immediately more positive about them than before you shook hands with them. It's a barrier crossed. Palm up, palm down, and here's the sort of neutral position. So if somebody gives you one of these palm down type handshakes, it doesn't mean you have to get into it. There are lots of techniques for doing that. But listen to the message. It says, for whatever reason, this person's trying to make a point. So just hear the message. Don't get into this crap they're trying to. You read the books, and it'll say you take one step forward, move your body this way, da-da-da, and you can turn your hand over and nobody even notices. Yes, they do. You look like a dancer. You know, they shake hands with you. This is a hug for the hands. Or I refer to this, at least, the politician's handshake. It has very bad press because politicians overuse it. Two-handed. Here's the rule for this. And this, by the way, used properly, really is good for enhancing a relation, or not a relationship, but the sense of comfort between people. Only give this to people whom you would be comfortable hugging. So if you wouldn't be comfortable giving the person a hug, don't do that. It's intrusive. That's why when a politician meets you for the first time, it comes across as false. Because you know, he shouldn't be hugging me, he doesn't know me. Now people, it's acceptable in most Western civilizations to touch somebody between here and here, in general. So you see, for example, sorry to intrude on you, you see people, hey, it's great to see you, how are you? They grasp you there or there. Never there, because that's I'm in charge, okay, it's pushing you down. But here's the rule for that. The higher you go up the arm, it's like a thermometer. The warmer the relationship must be. So if I meet Julia and I shake hands with her, I've known her for many years, I may say, oh, it's great to see you, Julia, because our relationship is warmer than the person I've just met. Thank you very much. So be careful of that. People use that to try and appear more friendly, and it's actually slightly uncomfortable. It makes you stand back a bit. One final thing on handshakes, just for observations. And you just want to watch this now when you see politicians. Because look at Bush in this situation. You notice where his hand is? It's on top, okay? And there again, Gordon Brown's hand is on top of Gaddafi's, God rest him. And Putin's hand is on top of, what's his name, Bush. I can't remember this gentleman's name, but Tony Blair's hand is on top. They have what the researchers call left side advantage. When there's a photograph being taken, politicians are like children trying to get on the left side for the handshake because they want to be seen as the dominant party in the photo. And the person who has that is seen to be in control. Just for fun, if somebody does that to you, here's how you fix it. It's almost like, do you remember that game you used to play when you were a kid? And they put 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands, 4 hands, 5 hands. You make sure your hand ends up on top. So here's this situation. Blair took the left-hand advantage and he said, no way. And he's trumped him. These are the 2 joint leaders of the coalition of the United Kingdom. This is Cameron, who is really, he's the Prime Minister and he's the boss man. This is the junior partner in the coalition. And he automatically, on the stairs of number 10, their seat of government, or not seat of government, but the Prime Minister's seat, he automatically took the left-hand advantage. And his buddy, whose name escapes me, said, not a hope. Watch it, watch it. And as I say, just for fun, if somebody does it to you, take it back. Freaks them out. If they do it, most people don't do it by accident. Okay? So in the first 4 minutes, you want to make that first 4 minutes impression. 1, fix the posture, then the smile, then make appropriate eye contact, shake hands in such a way that they are more comfortable, okay? And then you have to look at your body language and your gestures. Would you finish that? What time? So you've walked in the room, you've done your first 4 minutes, you've got that started. Now what happens? Now let's talk about everything else that you do when you're talking to people and presenting or communicating with them. First thing is, we are automatically, all of us, drawn to confident people. Confident people, for some reason, attract us. I personally think it's because the majority of us, in that hidden part of our minds where we are honest with ourselves, are less confident than we would have others believe. And so when we see somebody else confident, we kind of think, oh, I want to figure out what's going on here. Why is she feeling so confident? My theory, but there you go. Here's the point. As we spoke about earlier, there are gestures, there's language that, if you use it, are naturally confident. If you use them, you feel more confident. If you feel confident, you tend to use them. If you're not feeling confident, you can start to feel confident by using these particular. I'm going to go through 7 very, very simple ones first. Basic ones. Now, first one, remember in our building blocks, palms open. This is, if you want somebody to believe you, you don't say, no, I have absolutely nothing to hide. You know, your feet here, you're open. Your solar plexus open, your arms. And it can be like this, it can be, no, look, would I tell you a lie? No, absolutely. And you find, did you ever notice, when you're pleading with somebody, you say, look, I'm serious. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Be aware of it. You know, I didn't do it. Oh no, absolutely not. You know, just be aware of the impact that has. Where have I lost? No, second one. Now, this is an exception. And I have another picture somewhere else I'll show you shortly. This is an exception. You're not showing the palms, but universally, when somebody says, no, really, honestly, I mean it, I really sincerely mean this. I love you. We automatically do that. Our chest collapses a little bit, our head tends to go slightly as it is to one side, and it's an empathetic or an empathic gesture that says basically, really I'm being sincere. And when you're being absolutely sincere and you're comfortable, you'll find you do that. When you're uncomfortable or under stress, you sometimes consciously have to. You want to communicate to a group of 20 people. You have to make yourself larger than if you're just communicating with one. This is, no seriously, really. Please believe me when I say, that's what this one is. This is to me, you. I want to tell you something. You do that to people, and I guarantee you that the research is right. They will pick up 60% and more or less. They'll pick up 60% or maybe even 70 or 80% less than when you were talking to them with your open gesture. You don't ever use a finger on anything. We know that instinctively. But there are times when you want to. There are times when you're up there and you're speaking to a group and you want to make a strong point. Look at your politicians. Look at the good communicators. You know what they do? They make a pointer, like a little hammer, out of 2 or 3 pictures, or 2 or 3 fingers. Now you can point at somebody, it's not offensive. Let me tell you, one of the most important points is, and you can use it as a hammer to make out. I want to tell you something that's critically important. It's very different to that, but it's still very assertive. And when you're telling off an employee, and you want them to know, you want them to feel this without the offense. That's what you use. We've really got to fix this. This cannot happen again. It's not like that. The hair does not go up on the back of their necks when you use this. Don't ask me why, but this is called a basketball. I don't know, it's obvious why it's called a basketball, but don't ask me why, but this is what the research, when you look at your leaders and they say, the economy is going to be fine, we've got it under control, or the plan that we have is absolutely solid. For some reason that communicates, I'm in control. So when you want to get across the point that this is in hand, this is in control, remember the basketball. By the way, you can invert that as well. I'll talk about that in a moment. Here's another politician's trick. Here's one that news people and celebrities use all the time. Try it next time you're talking to somebody. When you want to get across the point that you've really thought out what you're talking about, you say, first, we're going to go to Budapest and we're going to book a hotel. Second, we're going to make sure that we have this. Third, we're going to do this. That makes it sound, makes it appear that it's under control. Again, when you walk away from this session, start watching great communicators. You'll find they all do that. I don't know if somebody taught them, or they just found that the first time they did it, it worked. You got a better impression. And even in one-on-ones, darling, here's what we do. First we do that, then we'll do this, then we'll do that. Very, very effective. You do this with the kids all the time, don't you? They call it the power chop. It's, no, absolutely not. It means it's final. And when you say to somebody, there's a negotiation with one of your kids going on maybe, and they're saying, oh yeah, but I'm 16, surely I can go to that. I mean, all of the other kids are going. Once you get that chop, you know it's over. There's a negotiation going on as long as this is going on. The moment you say, no, the message is, it's over. Learn to use it. It just says, period. It's finished. This is, you need to be careful. Here's what, when I talk to people about making presentations, they always say to me, I never know what to do with my hands. Okay? And I tell them, don't fidget, don't scratch your face, don't do this, don't scratch your backside. You know. And I say, yeah, but what do I do with the hands? And most people are not comfortable with them by their sides. That actually looks quite comfortable to you. But to the person holding it, it's kind of, I should be doing something. 2 things to do with your hands. One of them is what they call the steeple here. And you can just drop it just into a gentle like that. And it just says, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I'm feeling relaxed. and you can use that sitting down. Not the praying position, not like that. That's anxious, but it's, now, what do we want to talk about? And when you don't know what your hands, you're afraid your hands are going to give you away, or you're going to tell something from the way you're using them, or let it drop into that. Or if you're speaking, even though it can have slightly arrogant overtones because it looks like army, just drop them behind your back, not into your pockets. People think they look relaxed when they stand on a stage like that. They look like they're hiding something. Or worse than that, they always have something in their pockets. You know, and you always wonder what it is. Okay. Anybody care to guess who this is? Just out of curiosity. Obama. Obama, isn't it amazing? That's okay, the color is a little bit of a giveaway. But there's just something. When I saw that picture, that's definitely Obama. I mean, there you go. You see, watch your politicians, watch people who are being interviewed and so on and so forth. Let me finish off with the 7 deadly body language sins. Things you never do. First, don't stand on a fig leaf. Julia's introducing you for the presentation. Don't stand there like that. One, it just attracts people's attention for all the wrong reasons, but the instinctive, the non-verbal message is one of protection. It's a vulnerable zone. Hands behind your back, hands like that, anything not like that. And you can see, they have a good reason to be standing like that. Okay. But most of us don't. And it can feel relaxed. Now, this lady, she hasn't dropped it quite as low, but there's still a sense there that she's not quite as relaxed as she could be. So, you know, widen your stance a little bit and just make sure you don't use the fig leaf. You may have noticed I have a rather long nose. Yeah? And I don't drink an awful lot of brandy. But I have what would have been called in my father's day a brandy nose. I have a touch of what they call, at least, I think it's Latin, rosacea. Does that translate? Rosacea? It's a kind of a pigmentation problem. And if, for example, I eat very spicy foods, it'll get a little bit red. If I get very heated, it'll get a little bit red. If I do drink too much alcohol, it'll get a little bit red. And it's the erectile tissue in the nose is swelling a little bit, and of course you're getting some coloration coming from tiny veins and the nose coming to the top. But what's interesting is that when we talk about the story Pinocchio, where he told a lie, and everybody knows Pinocchio, right? There is an effect, a medical effect, called the Pinocchio effect. When you tell lies, or when you're under stress in general, when you tell lies or you're under stress in general, a set of chemicals called catecholamines are injected into your blood. They cause adrenaline and noradrenaline to be released. And long story short, you have erectile tissue in your nose, which gorges with blood, and your nose gets minuscule amount bigger. You don't, even with mine, you won't see it. But it just swells a little bit. But here's what happens. People, they feel the increased blood flow. It causes a little itch. And that's why people will always say, I think he was lying because he was scratching his nose. And frequently, when somebody is under sufficient stress, because of that effect, without even realizing, they hit that little itchy spot there. Might not be that they're lying, but here's the point. The people who read the cheap person's guide to body language and lie telling think that because you scratched your nose when you said something that you're telling a lie. So don't scratch it. When you're telling somebody you want to really get the point across, even if it gets itchy, just keep your hands away from your face in general, your nose in particular. Don't rub your eyes. You know what that is? That's an unconscious. I don't want to see any more of this. Oh, Jesus, will he never finish? Okay? It's unconscious. And again, and it's read as such. To anybody who's familiar with it, it's said on that sign, grabbing your ear. Jesus, what sort of garbage is he talking? It's utterly unconscious. Now, you watch. Again, watch people. Don't take my word for it. Watch when they're talking or watch in the audience. If I get a lot of people doing this, during the presentation. I know I've lost them. You know, I know they're gone. And what I try to do is, the problem, because the feedback goes from there to the brain and from the brain to there, is if they start doing that, they'll continue doing it because of the closed loop. And what you have to do then is break that. So if you get people and they're cross-armed in a presentation, the reason I got you to put your hands up at the beginning, I want to break that cross-arm thing because I want to break that loop. Now, in the front row of every presentation, where there's no space between the speaker and the front row, it doesn't matter. That's just normal. They're just protecting themselves. If they are sitting there, some people are just comfortable sitting like that. But you need to be aware that if you start going in a certain direction with your conversation and they suddenly adopt this, it's a message. It's telling you something. So anyway, stay away from your face. Watch that. Now that's no doubt stress. Picking your nails, or here's the great, you know, that's a great one with the ladies with the longer hair. You know, they're just twisting and twisting. And you see it so frequently. It's a sign of internal, something going in. Pinking the lips and biting the nails. Now, we all know enough not to bite our nails in front of people. We don't, you know, but it leaks out. For the reason that people misjudge it, a lot of people think that's closed. So if you want to get an open message across, don't cross your arms. It doesn't mean if you feel comfortable that you shouldn't cross your arms. But it means if you are saying to somebody, let me tell you something absolutely honestly. You need to drop that because they may have read the book and they may believe that you're not being honest with them. Sorry, wrong one. Nearly there. This is the ladies' version. You see this so often. That's the same as folded arms. And here's what you frequently get with people. And this is more of a female pose than you see with a male pose. This. Just, you've seen it cross the ankles. People adopt that pose, mostly females, and it's really saying, I'm quite happy here on my own. I'm not going anywhere, but I really don't need you to talk to me. Thank you very much. It's just closing off. It's just basically saying, I'm not open. I'm not open to whatever you're saying. If it happens as a result of something you say, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll keep doing that. Okay, we're nearly there. This I've already spoken about. You know, that is enormously different to that, the praying gesture. And that just portrays a certain amount of anguish and tension in clenched hands. Now, so finally, if you want to present to people, if you want to get a message across to people, avoid, kind of sounds terrible, avoid touching yourself. Avoid touching your ear or your nose when you're making key points. Just keep your hands away from your face, your mouth. Don't cross your arms. Keep your hands off your genitals. Stay open. Keep the palms open. No oh, darn, sorry about that. No clenched fists. By the way, when you're looking at people and you're looking for reactions, here's a simple rule of thumb. The further the body part is from the brain, the less aware we are of what it's doing. Somebody kind of read the books, done the programs, and they're feeling really nervous, and they're sitting and they've said, I'm not going to touch my face, I'm not going to touch my ear. Look at their feet. They don't know what their feet are doing, and you can't see them. When somebody's nervous, their leg is going. It's like, you know, when you scratch the dog's back, and the leg is going. Or the legs are tucked in underneath the chair. You're not going to be moving your legs. But you watch for that. That's where we leak that tension. And we leak it, we don't even notice when the palms are, when we've clenched our fists, we don't even notice, you know, that somebody says something we don't like, and you're saying, yeah, that's no problem. And it's a dead giveaway. Here's the point. You're not in the business necessarily of reading other people. You're in the business of making sure when they read you, the message you give is right. Keep the gesture open. Here's a great one that the ladies use all the time, the men almost don't. You ever see women touching that? It's touching that little dimple just at the bottom of the throat, and it's usually a sign of stress. Keep your hands away from the torso, the face, the throat, and so on and so forth. No brainer. I've already said that. What to do with your hands. If you're afraid they'll give it away, take notes. Put them into a steeple. Put them behind your back if you're standing. Or just set them at your sides. Okay? So finally, what did I want to say to you this morning? Last two slides. First, 55% of the messages people will take from you are coming from the way you present your face and your body and so on and so forth. So if it's important to you that you communicate a message accurately, become aware at those times of what your body is doing. And at least close down the most negative gestures. The body language conveys your thoughts, your attitudes, your self-confidence, but it's really just about ensuring that when you want to send a certain message, that your body sends the same message as the words. A final word. Don't, when you're looking at other people, take one sign and say, oh, he's lying. He scratched his nose, he's like, he might just have an itchy nose. He could have his arms folded because he's cold. He could be sitting with his ankles crossed because he has a sore knee and it feels better that way. Okay? You want to be watching for if you want to read other people's body language, watch for what's normal for them. So if you spend time with me in a room that's very warm and I'm scratching my nose all the time, it doesn't mean every second word's a lie. It means that my nose is itchy. Okay? So you're looking for what are their norms, because then, when you know what their norms are, then you can see departures from those norms. But I would say, don't start to use it as a source of information coming in, use it as a source of information going out. The key is knowing what your body language is saying, what messages it's sending, and making sure that the messages are congruent, that they're in tune with one another. So that was what I wanted to say to you this morning. It took me a little bit longer, I apologize, than I expected to. So I'm going to shut up right now. I'm delighted to take questions, but because I know people are under some pressure, I'll close up now, let Julia close up, and I'll stay here for as many questions as you want after that. But I know some people are under pressure to get back on the road and get back to the office. So back to you, Julia. And thank you for laughing at some of the jokes.